Hey guys, welcome back to Within the Cauldron. I'm Nico. We have Chrissy and Amy with us, and of course the lovely Medium Red. And tonight we have a special guest, Jeff Maki. And Jeff is from Central Massachusetts, and the name of his paranormal group is the Paranormal Project. Or his paranormal project is the Ghost Quest Solo. It is investigations and has for the last 4 years. Some of his favorite spots that he's investigated is the Yorktown Memorial Hospital, the Lizzie Borden House, the Villisca Ax Murder House, and the USS Salem, among many others.
I'm excited because being from Iowa, we have the Ax Murder House here.
Mhm.
So, yes, I say let's bring our guests up and
How's it going, Jeff?
Hey, Jeff.
How's it going?
Good. How about you? Thank you for joining us this evening.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's funny how you start off talking about Iowa because I can't wait to go back. I initially only went there to do the investigation at the Villisca Ax Murder House, but I figured since I was going to fly halfway across the country and spend all this money, I might as well just hang out for a couple of days. And I fell in love with your state. I went to Winterset. If you're familiar with Winterset,
yes,
Yeah.
we live about an hour from there.
Mm-hmm. A lot of routes.
And the movie The Bridges of Madison County was filmed there. They got a couple of there. It's a beautiful state. I can't wait to go back.
Have you ever heard of Powdertown?
I am not familiar with Powdertown.
You should look into that. That's in Iowa, and it's very
it's very haunted,
very eerie, very haunted. I would never step foot there, personally.
That sounds
been
like
there, done that.
But
Don't
it's
care to go
definitely
back.
a very spooky location.
Yeah.
What's the meaning behind the name Powdertown? Is there some sort of
There is.
It was wasn't it like a gun factory or something?
Back in
Gunpowder.
Well, just hang on. Back in the 1970s, it was a gunpowder place,
like an
like
explosion.
armory type, and there was a bunch of people that was there too because they always held dances and parties and everything. I don't know what time of year it was, but I was having a parties, and the place exploded up with the gunpowder and everything. So there was a lot.
The factory just blew up.
Yeah, it was a lot of people that perished in the fire.
So now it's like a ghost town, and it's really creepy, and people have like crazy experiences there.
Yeah, and it was, it was next to kind of like a campground and a lake called Chatfield Lake
Didn't we stay
and
there?
Park. Yes, we stayed in the campground, and at nighttime, people hear howls and like Bigfoot or something.
Well, Dad had a crazy experience too.
Yeah, but it's not about us. But
I'm all for it. I'm always looking for for new locations to investigate, especially the lesser known.
You need some. We got you.
Yeah, let us know when you're coming, and we make a day trip out there. If you like camping, we can camp out there and be spooky together.
If you guys don't see, Powdertown got me.
I'll have to remember that Powdertown. Okay.
Powdertown.
Yeah, Powdertown.
Is it powder like powder?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
Okay.
gunpowder.
Yeah, like
Like
I
gunpowder.
wrote it down wrong. I put Power Town. I was thinking more like a power
There
plant.
is some power to this town.
But it's not too far from our hometown, Keokuk. So
Don't tell people.
Nice.
Oh.
people knows anyways on my Facebook.
She's
so.
always doxing me.
But yeah, it's it's not too far from our hometown. So
But it's really
we know the area very well.
creepy and I've never been there. It's just really creepy, so I've never gone there.
Well, a cousin used to go there a few times. Probably one time a year for about 3 years.
The camping ground?
The camping ground and stuff. And we did our own stuff. All right. We didn't have no equipment. We just did it the rich way and try to see what we can.
Well, I'm
Find
highly
out.
sensitive, so I refuse.
So
Well, they say your body is the most important piece of equipment you have anyway when it comes to
that's
It's the
paramedic.
most powerful thing you have.
Sometimes I like to just go equipment free myself.
Yeah. So since we're on the state of Iowa, and none of us has been to the Axe House yet. We've been wanting
I want
to
go to this summer though with my sister.
but we're so busy. We get so busy. We just like, oh shoot, we want to go there. So tell me about your experience at the house.
I think Villisca was one of those investigations where I didn't realize how active it was until I had gotten home and started reviewing evidence. Oftentimes while I'm investigating, it doesn't seem like there's a lot going on, but then you review the evidence and you start to notice that you picked up some good stuff on the spirit box. That's sort of my go-to piece of equipment is a spirit box. I got some crazy responses on that. I think EMF detector went off a couple times, but what I like about the Villisca Ax Murder House is that there's no electricity in that building. Like the people that restored that building did it very historically accurate. Like everything looks as it did on the day of the horrible incident, and there's no electricity in the building. So when you're getting hits on your EMF detector, I think that, in my opinion, gives it a little bit more validity, as it less likely to be a false reading of some kind.
Did you get more activity in the attic?
The attic, I did get some spirit box stuff. I got some EMF hits. What's funny about the attic is I didn't realize before I got there, I don't know if you've seen recent pictures, but like when you open there's like a little mini door, you have to like a crawl space to get into the attic. And on the far end of this attic, there's just a row of creepy looking like dolls. Apparently they're haunted. So that kind of caught me off guard a little bit, as if it's not scary enough being in the Villisca Ax Murder House alone overnight. Now they put a bunch of creepy dolls in the attic, just for the icing on the cake. So that's
this is something I have to I have a history with dolls, so this is gonna be interesting.
You're not gonna go there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're not gonna go up to that room. You're not gonna go up to the attic then.
I will go up to the attic. I'll be brave.
Listen to your mama, auntie. No.
I got this. Dolls love me. Let's play.
Yeah.
I don't have a fear of dolls per se, but it definitely gives it extra creepy vibes. Whether you have that fear or not, it's definitely creepy.
I just had a really bad experience with a haunted doll, so that's why they're like, no.
If you actually, you guys are in Iowa, so you're not that far away. When I did my Villisca, Iowa trip, I made a pit stop in, I think it's Omaha, Nebraska. There's a haunted museum there.
Yeah, the Museum of Shadows.
The name is
where you got the doll from?
And there's haunted dolls everywhere. I mean, there's haunted Ouija boards, there's balls.
What a coincidence.
He got the doll from that location. That means location, and then that doll ended up being obsessed with me and Nico, and it was horrible.
In my opinion, that place is legit. I've got. I was highly skeptical going to that museum, but I figured, hey, I'm all the way over here. It's a haunted museum. Of course, I'm going to go to paranormal investigator. But going into it, I was highly skeptical because, unfortunately, we now live in this world where the word haunted has essentially become a commodity. You just put the word haunted in front of it, and it's you have to be wary of the people that are just doing it for the money. So I went in there very skeptical, but to be perfectly honest with you, almost immediately after walking into the museum section of the building, I instantly felt energy, and I couldn't even tell where it was coming from because there's literally hundreds of objects in there. And then there was like this little creepy clown doll thing on a swing, and it was moving all by itself. And I was looking for tricks. I'm like, all right, there's no draft. I didn't know if it was like a setup, but I couldn't find anything. So that place is legit in my opinion.
That doll, that museum is legit because that doll put me through hell for a while, and Nico. So,
that's the name of the doll.
People wouldn't because I'm on TikTok, people wouldn't go to my paranormal lives anymore because they were having experiences in their own home. So this doll got around, and then Nico had a spirit box session asking if, what was it, Nico?
Oh, I was trying to diagnose if it had jumped around, and it was kept asking about Amy. And I was like, I like Amy. Does Amy want to play? And she's like, no.
I don't want to play with you again, doll.
Did you enjoy? Did you enjoy playtime? And
You know what the
it's
favorite
supposed to
was?
be a Victorian child. It was
So-
not nice.
I personally see spirits. So it looked like something from like Coraline crawling at me.
Oh wow.
And then it was really small, like size of a toddler crawling at me, and it like attacked me and like pulled my hair, and that was its playtime. Yeah, it was great.
Now I have to hear the backstory on. Okay, so how did you get the haunted doll from the museum? Did they give it to you? Did you like? How did that work?
They had a booth at a consignment shop where they were selling medical oddities and some haunted dolls. They had some on for display and like an advertisement for the museum. I picked up one of the dolls, and it was supposed to have been. They had like a little tag where it's like, this is the name of the spirit, and then like some of the activity that's supposed to go along with it. And I kind of thought, it's like, okay, it's kitschy. I've heard of this museum. I hadn't been there yet. And it's like, okay, it's a $10 like antique doll. And I'm sitting there like, okay, like it's supposed to be haunted. I'm a witch. Cool. That's totally fine. I think nothing of it. So I bring it home, and there was definitely a spirit that came with it. I didn't have very many negative experiences having that in my possession. It walked across my mattress one night.
Oh wow.
You could feel like the weight of a toddler walking across the mattress. It would bang in the cupboard that I kept it in. You could hear it would knock from inside the cupboard. And Amy knew that I had this doll, and it was like, do you want to do a seance on TikTok Live? And I was like, yeah, like, you know, it's right around October. Like, sure, absolutely.
We thought that the spirit was more innocent than what
I hadn't had any bad experience with it at that
and
point.
then for some reason I activated some evil crap in it. I don't know.
Well, I suspect that with how many people were watching, that it kind of got supercharged a little bit.
Yeah.
It fed off people a bit and was capable of doing more of what it
normal.
wanted to. Because I kept it in a warded cupboard. Like, it's blessed warded, and like it's in a container. It's not doing a whole lot. Or wasn't.
But it was,
did the
Until
live,
Amy activated
it moved. Yeah, it moved on camera. So we have a clip of that.
yeah, we
and
have a clip of that on TikTok.
Nice.
The following morning, I have my phones blown up with everybody. Like, somebody woke up with scratches, handprints. Amy got her hair wrenched.
I called him in the middle of the night going, what the fuck is this thing?
And my response is,
and then it started chasing my cats, and it was just going crazy throughout my house. And here I am as a sensitive going, what am I going to do with this? And then the energy in my house completely changed to something darker. And I'm like, Miko, like, I've been around spirits my whole life. This is malicious. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So I had a migraine for 3 days after that, and then got with a friend, and we did some deep diving on the spirit and the doll, and found out that the inside of this doll was filled with hair and children's teeth. So it was most likely a bound spirit.
Yeah.
They made a haunted object, or somebody had. Because I don't want to associate that necessarily with the museum themselves, but somebody made a haunted doll and it got sold along there, and it was fun. The doll got disassembled and banished, or the spirit of the doll. I kept the head as a souvenir.
Nice.
But yeah, we learned a lesson. Ward your technology if you're doing remote spirit work.
I think that's one of those things that I wouldn't mess with just in case. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to find out that I was wrong. Like, yeah, this is all hocus pocus, and then, you know, go through what you guys went through. I think I'll just play it safe and keep my distance.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yes, Dante. That is the vessel.
After the podcast, Jeff, I can send you a video of Meredith.
We could show you the head after the podcast. We'll show you the head.
Nick can show the head. I'm not.
Yeah.
So,
They have to before they show the head, because I still have some trauma from it, because it put me through a lot of shit.
He has to leave. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, send me your TikTok link too, so I can check out that video.
Yeah.
Did you spend the night at the Axe house or not?
Yeah, I actually spent the night. I think I did that for a couple of different reasons. For one, I had spent a lot of money to investigate, so I figured I would get my money's worth. But at the same time, in my mind, it didn't make any sense to spend all this money to investigate Villisca, and then on top of that, go drive down the road and spend another $200 or $300 on a hotel room. You know what I mean? I figure I'm here, I might as well just sleep here. And
Right, yeah.
The funny part about that is I think there's like there's at least 4 beds and like 3 different bedrooms in that house. So like I was having trouble deciding which one I wanted to stay in. I ended up picking the bed in the master bedroom, which Josiah and Sarah were murdered, which is right across the hallway from where the attic was, which is the theory is that's how they got it first. And I remember I think it got to be about 5 a.m. when I finally had decided I need to get a couple hours of sleep so I don't fall asleep driving back to the airport in the morning. And every time I would close my eyes, in my mind, I can picture some guy standing over me with an axe. You know what I mean? That kind of, it took a while to fall asleep with that thought in my mind. So I'm pretty sure the furniture is not original, but it was just being in that same spot where this horrific crime had been.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
To be with that energy.
Yeah. It's safe to say it took a while to fall asleep, and I'm not going to lie. I have no problem admitting that I brought a little lantern with me, and I used that as a nightlight, and I slept with that thing on because I was like, there's no way I'm sleeping in the dark in this room. It's just not happening, you know. But yeah, long story short, yes, I ended up spending the whole entire night there, and then I woke up in the morning and drove back to the airport. So it was cool.
Wow. Well, we do have some questions besides that one to ask you. I'm going to let Medium Red go first on some questions here.
I was going to ask you, where do you personally draw the line between psychology and the supernatural?
Psychology and supernatural. I think that's a good question. I don't know if I have an answer for that. Psychology and supernatural. I think as far as like mental illness, you're saying, or?
Correct. I've run into this myself personally as a medium where I have people that, in fact, I've got a case right now. I'm trying to help a gentleman through it right now, but he does have some bipolarism. And so as a medium, obviously I'm able to discern, most of the time I should say, I'm able to discern if it's a spirituality or a mentality thing, something mental or something physical, as opposed to, or psychology versus something paranormal. So just kind of wondering if you've run into that across the board in some of your paranormal investigations.
That's a really
especially now when everyone goes haunted, you know, it's haunted. You got to spend money to come to this place because it's haunted.
I'll say that I'll use myself as an example. When I first started having what I now look back and realize as genuine paranormal experiences, while it was happening, there was sort of like, you know how like there's different stages of death, you know, denial, acceptance. It was almost similar to that in the sense of like the first time I started seeing things, I had convinced myself, oh, I'm just seeing things. My eyes were playing tricks on me. But then when it started happening more, I started to convince myself, like, all right, am I going crazy? Am I losing my mind? Am I hallucinating? These, you know, I think naturally these thoughts enter your mind when you're seeing things that aren't supposed to exist.
Exactly.
So I went through a little bit of that with my own journey. But the second part of the answer to that question, I would say, like, whenever I go investigate a place, regardless of the reputation of the place, regardless how allegedly haunted it is, I always walk into a place in my mind like, you have to prove to me that you're haunted. Give me something. You know what I mean? I think it's very dangerous to walk into any investigation expecting to see something, expecting to have an experience, expecting this, because as we all know, that nobody can control the paranormal activity that does or doesn't take place. It's either going to happen or it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
precisely.
I don't actually do like investigations in people's homes, so I can't really speak to like the psychology of other people, but it is an interesting sort of dynamic where like, well, how do you determine if somebody is mentally ill and maybe they're having some hallucinations or something else going on, or determine if it's paranormal? That's a really good question. I like that.
I have done, just for your kind of edification, what I usually do is when I do get, obviously when somebody comes to me and I am hearing their story and they're telling me the information, obviously at that point I'm intuitively channeling to find out, my spirit guides to tell me, is this legit or is this something maybe psychology wise? And if I'm meeting with the individual in real life, I'll take my dowsing rods and actually use those. And I'll have the individual stand with their back to me. And obviously, you know what dowsing rods do, it's old school. But literally, if I hold the dowsing rods up, they should remain straight. I've given them the command to cross over if there's anything that they feel illness-wise within the body. So I will hold those straight and then literally go down, starting at the head and go all the way down the entire body with the dowsing rods. And they have been spot on accurate on things that have occurred. Like literally, if it's something that's, psychology or psychological, it'll cross automatically. I've had things where it's come through, like somebody's been experiencing stomach issues and it hits the stomach and it crosses over. So those little dowsing rods have been really incredible in that respect, just as a tool for you in case you ever run into it.
Yeah, that's good. It's funny you mentioned dowsing rods because I just saw, I was back at the USS Salem last night doing an investigation, and there was a couple of people there that were using them. And dowsing rods has always been one of those things that I was a little bit on the fence about because I don't really know a lot about it. And I think I'm just sort of a skeptic by nature. But the gentleman that was using them last night, we had it set up where if it crossed, it was a yes, and if it was a no, it would go out. And like I was trying to watch to see if he was moving his hands, and he wasn't moving his hands, but the things are still moving. So
right,
you learn something new every day, and it was an amazing experience. I think I'm going to start delving a little bit more into the dowsing rods. It's very interesting.
They're going to be a lot of fun.
I have a friend of mine, and in fact, we've had her on the podcast before, Debbie Branding. She's a local here I'm from Arizona. And she will literally go out to grave sites and use those for unmarked graves to determine whether it's a male or a female. Yeah. So she'll give it the command that if you're female, you'll cross, and if it's a male, you'll open up wide. So It's really interesting, and she's spot on. I mean, it's crazy. Dowsing rods actually are pretty darn accurate.
Yeah, after last night, I have to agree. But I think it's one of those situations where I like being proven wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, prove me wrong. And, I learned something new last night, definitely, for sure.
That's awesome. I love that.
What's funny how, like, listening to your story, I've never heard it be used. I've never heard them being used in the context that you were referring to, as far as like, you're saying, that's basically letting you know, like, okay, is this really paranormal or is this person having a mental breakdown? And that's interesting. I never heard that before.
And I've done that now with 3 separate cases. And one of them I kind of felt like it was paranormal. And then the other 2 I knew definitively prior to me even going there. Because again, my spirit guides tell me what's going on. And immediately I'll get chemical imbalance. And so consequently, I mean, I know that I need to bring my dowsing rods with me so that when I'm interviewing this particular person, I can actually use them as a medical intuitive, basically go up and down the body to determine whether or not it's something that's medical or if it's something really paranormal. And it's amazing how it really does. It's very accurate. And then on the flip side of it, having those people, and again, I always say I'm not a medical doctor. I don't profess to be medical. But, you might have these things checked out. And when I've had them come back to me after being checked out, it has been spot on. So it's really interesting.
I have a question for you. Okay, so has there ever been an incident where a mentally ill person was having genuine paranormal experiences?
Yes.
Does being mentally ill
kind of open the floodgates? Yes, it does. Yeah, and actually, I have a friend that's been doing that too, where he's actually been taking cases of paranormal activity with people that have been diagnosed with either bipolarism or depression or things like that, and then actually investigating them and what they're seeing. And it's because you're more vulnerable that you are able to see these things occurring in front of you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like you're more of a target.
Yep.
Because that's where they want you to be. They want you to be investigated to feed off you more.
Right. Exactly.
Is there a specific diagnosis or mental illness that makes you more prone to that, or is it sort of just mental illness as a whole?
You know, I have found in the studies that I've done, I've seen bipolarism being more prevalent as somebody that is getting more paranormal activity, being like Amy said, being targeted more. Not so much with schizophrenia, not so much with what's the other one? I can't think of it off the top of my head. But bipolarism, I have seen quite a bit of truth to the fact that they're more vulnerable to paranormal activity.
Depression too.
I'm sorry.
I feel like with depression too.
Depression's one, yeah, too. Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it's about energy, right? Because like
Correct.
certain energies can attract certain energies. So
Right.
maybe it has something to do with that.
Right. Well, if your energy is off balance, you know, I mean, if you think about that, it could be a beacon, a light, you know, if everybody is even keeled with their energy level, you know, spirits are probably looking for that vibration or that energy level that has a little bit of a spike to it. And then they go towards that person. So like the medium, obviously our vibration level and my energy level operates on a different level than most people. And so therefore, like Nico is a medium too, you know, our vibration and energy level was raised at a different level and we're more targets for entities to come talk to us.
Colleen, do you feel like also when you're like more down or you're like grieving or you're just like in a more vulnerable, do you feel like you're more of a target, especially since you are sensitive?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And when I drink alcohol, my guard goes down.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
I never considered it. Do you think it's like, is it a frequency thing? Like you as a medium, are you vibrating at a different frequency? Are you receiving at a higher or a lower different frequency than like a normal person? Almost like a radio station, you know, like you can pick up stations that we can't.
Yeah, I feel like it is. I feel like it totally is.
Yeah, I feel like the people that are more sensitive to it, we just have really welcoming energy. Like spirits are drawn to us just the same way people are.
Which is like
You'll get somebody come and give you their whole life story and you never asked.
Right.
like word vomit just coming out.
Yeah, that's all super interesting. I love that stuff.
It's like you haven't like, well, you can just imagine like nobody's seen you for such a long time, and then you see someone who can actually see you and tell your story, and for you to be able to get that closure if you want that, you know.
I live in this weird world where like I am fascinated with weird things. I believe in weird things, but at the same time, I'm highly skeptical because along with the dowsing rods, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, like the whole psychic medium thing, I was sort of on the fence about that. But I think a lot of that has to do with like maybe some shows that were on TV at one point in time that I watched. And then you start to think, oh, it's all BS, you know, but I've met some people in real life that they've known some things that they should not have known. So did the medium just disappear?
She would come back. She sometimes we just get, you know, a lot of Wi-Fi issues. But yeah, she'd be back on.
We're out in the country.
Well, we're in the country. She's in the city, but we still, no matter where you at, Wi-Fi sucks everywhere. So
yeah.
But I think that's how everybody should be. I think you should be a little bit skeptical, you know. I think you should be a healthy skeptic of everything. And
I 100% agree with that. I was just in Salem and I felt like there was a spirit in the room and I knew what spirit it was. I felt the energy and everything, but I sent Medium Red a video to see how she thought about it and just to confirm how I felt. And she felt the same thing. So
do you mind if I ask you a question about the whole medium thing, or whoever wants to answer that?
Sure.
Is that something that do you think you're born with it? And if you are born with it, like how early in life do you start to sort of have these experiences?
Well, for myself, I started experiencing it at age 5. And I do believe people are born with it. It's a matter of, at least with my generation, I'm a little older. I feel like my mother tapped it down because she was highly Catholic and raised Catholic and believed that, you know, when you die, you go to heaven. You're not back here. You're not talking to people. You're not doing any of that stuff. So consequently, when I started exhibiting the gift, she kind of wanted to squash it down and make it not noticeable by anybody. And again, I was also raised during the 70s when, you know, that was not something that was talked about, you know. So Yeah, I believe that if you're born with it, you can cultivate it, you can hone in on it. If somebody helps you hone in on it and it encourages you with it too. So I wasn't as lucky as having somebody that cultivated it, and except for the fact that my grandfather, who I was seeing, who is deceased, he was the one that was helping me continue to keep that gift and keep it alive.
So from my own experience, my mom had, when I was in, like, my mom was pregnant with me, she had some abilities that wasn't like, she had like a whole thing where she knew that her best friend passed away, and then I've always seen spirits since the beginning.
Well,
so
it was,
that I can remember.
Yeah, it was like relatives that I know that was very distressed, you know, and needed help, but didn't know how to get it. I saw somebody down in Florida that was my dad's kind of like adopted daughter that was planting flowers, and she was hit by a car, but she wasn't, because I saved the day. I guess you can say that. I called up and told her not to do, and after she hung up, about 10 minutes later, a car came and ran over the mailbox and everything where she was planting flowers at.
And that was when you were pregnant, right?
Yeah, and then, but the biggest one was that when I was pregnant with her, I was probably like 6 months pregnant with Amy, and our dad's best friend passed away, and I saw every single detail. It was at the bar drinking. They say, hey, let's go over to Illinois. Iowa and Illinois, of course, connected by some bridges. And they hit the medium, flipped the truck over. I knew the truck was red, S10. I knew everything about the truck. And I just heard him call out my name. And, I was like, what are you doing? But, he wasn't here. I searched the whole house. And then about an hour later, his mom called and says, is Chris around? I'm like, well, he's working. Well, we need him, Tom needs him. And then half hour of that, I was like, his brain dead. And I just, you don't know what to do, because I could have called the tavern and said, hey, Tom, don't get into the truck. Would he listen? No. He was very skeptical. He made fun of my craft and everything. I was witchy poo. I was hocus pocus, and yeah. And I knew, since I was pregnant with Amy, I was like, you know what? I just can't do this. I'm having, when you're pregnant, sometimes you have good days and bad days, And
but his basically the story is that his mother called you and you said, hey, did you know someone? And you said the name before she did and all the details.
Yeah.
And she's like, how did you know Chrissy? Yeah. That was pretty much it. But ever since I could remember, which most people don't remember past like 4 or 3, like what Colleen was saying. So, but since I could remember, yes, I've had experiences.
Yeah. I think the worst part is that
Colleen is more like accepted. Yeah. I'm like, get it away from me.
I think the worst part is that, just to make this short, is that after we went to the cemetery and everything, went back to the reception and everything, and I was just really emotional. Pregnancy, probably too.
I'm really interested to look into is if people who have abilities like Nico, Colleen, and I, if their mothers, while they were pregnant, had any type of abilities during that time, like hypertension.
But this might have been a mistake. I told her that I saw everything. She wanted details. I told her every single details.
Yeah.
She cried. She hugged me, and she told me, I know things wasn't right with Tom and Chris. So I know his last words to you was witchy poo, hocus pocus, get off of that witchy crap shit, So she understood, but I didn't call her anything. But, I lived with that guilt for a little bit. And I think you do until you just kind of get past that.
That almost sounds more like what would you call like a premonition, right? Is that
like
psychic
ability?
before it happened.
But
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of people who can see spirits kind of have that too.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
yeah.
it's interesting because there is the definitive mediums are psychics. Not all psychics are mediums.
Mhm.
So
Not all of them,
Okay.
That's true.
but I have a lot of them I have met has had gifts like that.
yeah.
I think my biggest gripe with mediums is the fact that anybody can just call themselves a medium.
Mhm.
boy, don't get me on my soapbox on that one.
Like, I'm a medium.
Yeah.
Give me $60 and I'll let you talk to your grandmother. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think it's all of the charlatans that give the real ones a bad
True
name.
ones a bad
It's like,
name.
how do you tell the difference between somebody that has abilities and we can delve back into mental illness, or somebody that's just doing it for the money? You know, that's where I think my gripe is.
A lot of people with abilities, like I have abilities. I've seen spirits my whole life, but I don't claim myself to be a medium or a psychic. Like sometimes I know things before it happens. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I see spirits. Sometimes I always don't, because sometimes I block them out because I need to go on with my life.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff.
No, it is interesting. You know, it's a topic that gets me a little hot under the collar because there are so many out there that, I mean, as soon as you tell somebody, like as soon as I tell somebody I'm a medium, they're like, oh my God, I want to be a medium so badly. Teach me how to do this. It's like,
Yeah.
and then it's like, they go, oh, you're so lucky. It's like, well, it's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, you know?
And
they
they
really don't understand this.
They also think that you can call upon any spirit to
Yeah,
talk.
like, here,
That's
call my
my
grandmother
favorite.
right now. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
like I want to talk to the spirit. Okay, well, Grandma can't come to the phone right now.
Yeah.
But
So true.
you know, there's a cat, or
Can you,
um,
can you talk to
I've had
Nancy
people-
for me? No,
Yeah.
Nancy's not here, darling. I don't know.
Yeah,
if-
exactly. Yeah.
or
I just
God
tell
forbid
everybody-
they didn't like the person.
I just tell everybody that I got skills, and they say, "Oh, what kind of skills? A medium?" I go, "No, I just got skills." Well, what kind of skills? And I don't really let them know because I don't want to say, "Oh, yes, I'm a medium," because
It
I'm
doesn't
not.
matter anyway.
I'm
Like
not
I've
gonna
experienced as a teenager, and
Yeah,
she just
but-
let the spirits big spoon me. It's fine. It's okay.
Yeah, but I'm not. But I'm not gonna, come out and just tell people, "Oh, just call me a witch. I'm happy. I'm fine. That's it."
Yeah.
Not
have
like
a-
it's not like a safe umbrella.
Sorry, Jeff. We have a whole.
I
Oh,
had an incident, Jeff, that's really funny. I was in the town of Clifton, Arizona, where we were doing a group investigation, and we ran into a building that was an apothecary back in the day. It's no longer an apothecary. It's now a just a regular store, but it has some paranormal stuff in it. But for the most part, it's not. Now the bell's working. Thank God.
I was wondering where that came from. Like, what just happened?
That was my dead bell went off.
Okay.
But so anyway, this building truly does have a demon. The woman that owned the building had upper border location. She was not into the paranormal, but realized that when she went up to check on this particular individual, that he had gone to work and he had put he had a pentagram on the floor and had candles, and he was summoning something. And he did. He completed he summoned something, and it was quite demonic. And but she was so upset that she kicked him out because it was a wood building with candles. So she kicked the host out. I told her, I go, you kicked the host out before you let him take the entity with him, And so she asked me to come back the next day to investigate with her friend who was a medium. And I'm like, sure, love to meet another medium and talk to them and everything. And then I walk in the door the next day, and I looked at my husband, and he looked at me, and he's like, well, this should be really quickly. She's on the floor playing with a cat ball, and if you're familiar with cat balls, you're supposed to let them sit there,
Right.
Don't touch them, don't be around them, But
So she's literally just playing with a cat, like a cat.
She's batting him back and forth, and she's like, thank you for that, thank you. And then we go upstairs to the room that apparently this demon was summoned. And and my husband looks at me, and he is the biggest skeptic in the world. He will be the first one to tell you that he will say, I can't stand this paranormal hablooey, but I don't have an answer for why Colleen can do what she does. And I support her because I've seen her do stuff and pull stuff out that she is no clue in a million years about these people, but I'm pulling this information out. So he looks at me at that moment in time and goes, and I went like this, because there wasn't a single soul in that building. And she's sitting there having this conversation, and she's a self-proclaimed medium. And I'm like, wow, look at that time. I got a 4-hour drive back to Phoenix. I'll see you later. But yes, you're right. I mean, it's those types of people that are out there, and that they're making it worse for the people that are legit out there. So it's difficult.
I think that must be an amazing experience to watch a genuine skeptic become a believer like that.
It was.
It's like you can't, when somebody witnesses something they can't explain, it's like, it's a great feeling.
So what are some experiences that you've had that maybe has changed you from being a skeptic to a believer?
I think that the experiences that put me on the road that I'm on right now, that basically got me to the point where I'm talking to you all right now about this. The apartment that I'm currently living in right now, I've been here for, I think, about 13 years. I've been here for a while. I get a pretty good deal on rent, so I don't plan on going anywhere. I'm going to stay as long as until they kick me out. So when I first moved in here, I would say within about the first 6 months or so, I started having these really strange experiences where I would be laying in my bed at night watching TV. And I think the very first experience I had was, all it really was the room I'm in now, the lights were off, so it was dark. But in that darkness, I could see something darker than the dark. And it was shifting almost like, I know this is a weird analogy, but in my mind, I'm picturing like if you picture a cartoon character tiptoeing almost in an exaggerated sort of movement, that was what it reminded me of. But I had convinced myself, I'm like, oh, I just must be seeing things. My eyes are playing tricks on me. But weird, like it kept intensifying where it got to the point where like things were walking by my bedroom door at night in my living room. And the creepiest thing that happened to me is, I almost get goosebumps now just thinking about it, is I'm pointing this way because the doorway is literally right there. The doorway between my bedroom and my living room is right there. And I was laying in bed one night watching TV, and the thing grabbed the side of the door frame and stuck its head in and peeked at me and then pulled its head back. And that was it for me right there. I'm like, okay, that was when I'm like, all right, am I going crazy? I literally broke this whole thing down. I'm like, am I hallucinating? Am I mentally ill? But then I had these thoughts of like, okay, well, if I'm hallucinating, why am I not hallucinating when I'm walking my dogs in the park? Why are the trees not moving? It's only certain times in certain places?
Mm-hmm.
So that actually happened a couple times. The second time it came down from the top instead of the side. The same thing, it grabbed and it pulled down and it looked.
Wow.
Except that time, the second time that it happened, I jumped out of bed. I don't really know what I was going to do if I got there and it was still there, but it was just more of an instinct, more of like a fight or flight. And I usually tend to lean towards fight. And so I got out of bed and I was getting ready for battle. And of course it's gone by the time I got there. But at that point, the damage was already done. You know, psychologically, that sort of messes with you. I remember I had gotten so scared at one point, I literally bought a nightlight. And I put it next to the doorway because I didn't want to see this thing anymore. So like,
it didn't help.
Yeah, it didn't help. But there was a couple times also I would be standing in the bathroom, and since I was living alone at the time, I was living alone. I don't know why that sounded so weird. Living alone at the time. And like I would go to the bathroom with the door open. So I'm standing at the toilet relieving myself, and something would walk by, this black shadow figure. It looked like a human. It looked like a man. You could tell it was a human man, but there was no color to it. It was like the color of a shadow, which I understand now why they call these things shadow people. And it scared me so bad. The only thing I could think to do at the time was to call my dog, as if my dog was going to come save the day, right? What's my dog going to do? But in that moment, I was so scared, I didn't want to be alone. And when you start to have enough of these experiences, it's like, okay, my mind is not playing tricks on me. I'm not seeing things. I'm not mentally ill as far as I know, or maybe not to the extent of where I'm hallucinating. I mean, and again, how I was previously talking about the stages of, denial and this and that. And it got to the point where I'm like, okay, this is really happening. And I remember one day, I don't know why I picked, like, my spare bedroom is the room I decided to do this in. I literally spoke out loud to it, like as if I was talking to a person. I says, listen, I don't want to see you anymore. You scare me. You're dead. It's time to move on. You don't live here anymore. And I had this whole speech. And believe it or not, I don't know if this was just pure coincidence or if my speech actually worked, but the activity died down significantly after that. I stopped seeing it. I would occasionally still have like weird random things. Like I would be sitting in my living room chair watching TV and it would sound like there was a ruckus going on in my spare bedroom. And there was one other time where I was like laying in bed trying to fall asleep and it sounded like something really heavy had like fallen over. And I'm like, I was too lazy to go get up and look at it. I'm like, I'll just check in the morning. Okay? But when I got up in the morning to look, nothing was out of place. You know, just weird little things like that. And I had always had a natural curiosity for all forms of high strangers ever since I was a little kid. I watched all the shows that we're all familiar with, but like as far as being an actual believer, I had never really crossed that threshold until that point in my life, which was probably, I want to say late 30s. About there is when I started to acknowledge like, okay, the things that we used to be afraid of as kids, we grew up as adults, we were told none of this is real, it's all pretend, it's all make believe, and then you come to this moment of realization that no, this is not pretend. It's like finding out Santa Claus is actually real or something. You know what I mean? It's like, wait, I thought Santa Claus was fake. Are you telling me he's real? That's kind of sort of basing like, so monsters are real, or if you know, maybe not a monster, but whatever you want to call it, ghost, spirit, creepy things that fall in the night. It's like it's real. So then it sort of fueled the curiosity that I already had even more. And that's when it sort of started the journey to want to find answers, basically. I want to find answers. Who, what, when, where, why, how, what are these things? Why are they here? Where are they coming from? Why are they messing with me? I had a medium one time tell me that it was the spirit of my dad's, but I, you know, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what he said. I'm not going to say the gentleman's name, but for what it's worth, that's what I was told.
Yeah.
But
well,
yeah.
Did your dad die in his 40s and is about 6'2", heavy, died of a heart attack or a stroke?
My dad actually passed away when he was 60, but
Nope, it's not your dad then, because it was definitely 40s. It's a heart attack or a stroke. He has dark hair, 6'2", heavy set gentleman. I think he died in the apartment. Oh. Trying to find how you can it's very difficult to try to figure out in apartments when people die.
You just gave me chills when you said that. I thought you were talking about my dad, and then I just realized you might be talking about the thing that I've been seeing. Okay,
that's correct. That is correct. Yeah.
That is creepy.
Yeah.
Apartments have a lot of static.
I'm sorry?
Apartments have a lot of like psychic static. It stacks it together.
Okay, so I got to remember this. So he was 40, heart attack, big guy.
Yep. Dark hair, 6'2"-ish. He was heavy set. I think that's what contributed to I feel like it was a heart attack. He passed either in the building or he was rushed to the hospital. And you're right. You actually touched on the reason why he's there was he did not know he was passed. He was trying to figure out why you were there and why he's not there. So just to give you a heads up, but yeah, that's who you're dealing with.
You're sending tingles up my spine right now. That's creepy. Like I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, this building I live in, it's an older building. It was built in like 1930. So it's almost 100 years old. So I can't even imagine all the energy and all the different people that have come and gone over the years.
You have a lot of residual energy in the building too, but yeah, but this was definitively not residual. It was definitively a gentleman who had passed, didn't know he had passed. It happened so quickly that he didn't have any time to process it. And he either died in the building or he died at a hospital and he came back to the building. And then of course there's a new person in the building and he's not quite sure. And he was very curious to know why you were there. And he was scared of you and you were scared of him. So
isn't that crazy how like he doesn't understand that he's dead and he thinks I'm invading his space when
that's correct.
There's a common misconception that when we pass on that like somebody hands you like a how to be a ghost
like in
book
Beetlejuice
where that like comes and collects you. No, not always.
Not always, yeah.
They really don't get a hang of what they're doing until at least after a year.
That's why, when you were saying I did that before you did that. Like when you were putting your hands like that, I literally leaned over like he's looking because he was as curious about you as you were of him. Yeah. And he was scared. That's why he would do this or maybe like you said, he'd hang down and kind of look down, but he was scared of you as you were scared of him.
That, you know,
Yeah.
it's crazy. All these years that I've had these experiences, I'm so blown away right now because I never looked at it from his perspective and the perspective that you're telling it of like, oh, he's scared. It's like, well, yeah, if I came home from the hospital and somebody was in my house, I'd be scared too.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
People get really quick to paint spirits as some kind of demonic,
Right.
evil entity, and most of the time, that's very, very rare. If they were an asshole in life, they might be as a spirit, but like,
Yeah.
There's a 90% chance that
Like,
they'd
if
be an
you
asshole in your life.
Yeah.
a mean grandma, it might be a mean grandma.
Correct.
You know,
Right.
same energy throughout. Sometimes they learn lessons, you know, afterlife. Be like, hey,
Correct.
I was an asshole. Maybe I should be a better person now. Well, better
Yeah.
soul.
What's funny is
Sometimes they lose the ego.
the people that lived here before me, I actually knew them because they're friends of my sister. It was the man and his wife and the baby, and they were even telling me stories of when they lived here. They used to see it too. They used to see it. So that's crazy. All these years because I tried talking to my landlord. I remember sending my landlord an email one time, but like it's kind of weird because it's not something that you really want to talk about. Like, hey, I'm seeing things, you know. But
I'm
like,
not crazy, really.
yeah, exactly. I promise. But like, I think I sent him an email one time. The only thing I said to him is, "Has anybody ever passed away in this building?" And his response was, "Not that he knows of." Which, good luck, you know, whatever that for what that's worth.
Right.
I mean,
Apartments are very difficult. I mean, one of the things, like, I don't do it, but I'm aware of it because obviously as a medium, I like to walk in with fresh eyes and nobody telling me and tainting me any information. But the two teams that I consult with both use the same thing. It's called Dead in House. And it's like a $5 or something cost to it online. You pay it, you put the address in, and it'll pull up everything on the address to let you know. Problem is, apartment complexes don't classify because there's too many.
Yeah.
You know, they'll pick the building, but they won't be able to tell you what's going on. If it's a house, you can definitely do it. But yeah, apartments are a little bit more challenging.
what's the name of the site again? What's it called?
It's called Dead in House.
Dead in House. I'll have to check
Dead
that
in
out.
House. Yeah, and we're anywhere in the United States. You can put an address in. I think it's like a nominal $5 charge. You can even do monthly charges if you want, if you're going to be using it a lot more often. But it's specifically for that, to figure out, like, you know, they do that before I walk in the building, so I can tell them, like, hey, I'm feeling this or that, and they can then they can validate me when I walk in the building.
You know what's so funny is how everything goes, or everything works. Is like, if I had never had those experiences, I don't know if I would have ever sort of taken the next step of investigating myself. Like I said, I had always been a fan of the shows, but I think that's when I started. That ignited, you know, that led me to where I am now, basically. So the whole thing's just very interesting and crazy.
It was your trajectory. That's awesome. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not your dad. Definitely not your dad at all.
Okay. I appreciate that. Honestly, like when I was talking to you about it, I wasn't even thinking about like going in that direction, but the fact that you gave me that piece of information, like, it's awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. As you were talking, I just start doing automatic writing, and that comes through. So
Yeah, my mind. I feel like it's going to take me a while to process information because it's such a, it's crazy.
Have you ever felt that that it was dangerous to investigate something on your own, but you still did it anyway, of course, because that's what you do. But what made you wanted to do everything by yourself?
All right. So the first part of that question, I initially, when I had started doing investigations, I was investigating with the group for a period of time, and that venture did not work out. But while I was investigating with the group, in the back of my mind, the concept of Ghost Quest Solo, I think before I even had the name Ghost Quest Solo, just the concept of doing it by myself, that seed had been planted in the back of my mind for probably a year or two before actually it came to fruition. And I never, because I was investigating with the group at the time, in my mind, this idea that I had, this concept of investigating solo, was never.
Yeah, it's on the counter.
So when the group thing didn't work out, I figured, hey, there's no better time than the present. I want to see if I can make this solo investigation concept that I've had, if I can make it work. Like, I was actually already going to Texas for something else, and I figured while I was there, well, actually, I was supposed to go do something that fell through, is the more accurate way to put the story. I was supposed to go to Texas for this event. The event fell through. I didn't go. So I'm like, I already spent money on hotel, car rental, airline. I'm like, I wasn't really in a financial position to just let all this money get flushed down the toilet. So I'm like, well, this concept of Ghost Quest Solo that I've had for some time now is like, there's no better time than the present, because I had already investigated in Texas prior to that with said group that I was previously talking about. We did Black Swan Inn in Yorktown Memorial Hospital. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be in Texas anyway. I might as well investigate Yorktown Memorial Hospital. And that was literally the genesis of Ghost Quest Solo. That, you know, that was something that, you know, that was the first step of beyond the concept in my mind that turned it into a reality. And as far as like investigating alone, I do find it challenging at times. I would say probably to date, the most challenging investigation was Yorktown, because it was my first. And I remember I had flown to Texas. I hung out in San Antonio for a couple of days, and I drove to Yorktown, and I was in the hotel room in Yorktown. And I remember, like, I was in the hotel room getting ready. I was getting all my equipment ready, making sure my batteries were charged, like what we all do before an investigation. And like, I started to get a fear that I've never experienced in my life before, where I was so scared, my hands literally went numb. I don't even know what that is. If it's blood pressure or heart rate, I don't even know. I was so scared, and I was trying to come up with any excuse in the world to not do this thing that I had flown. I'm like, oh, maybe this, maybe that. I'm like, no. I'm like, I came all this way. I spent all this money. I felt like I had to do it at that point. I mean, technically I could have chickened out, but in my mind, I'm like, I have to do this. And I think sometimes that's what we need. Sometimes you need to burn the boats. That's the only way things are done sometimes. And it was a very intense, scary experience. I had a pretty crazy personal experience when I was in the basement. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Yorktown, but for some reason in the basement of this hospital, this old abandoned Catholic hospital from the 50s, there's like an old school like jail cell. It's almost like a jail cell that you would see in like a Western. It's a freestanding cage. And I went down there, and I was sitting on this little bench they have in the cage, and my EMF detector just started pitting red. And mind you, again, I'm in a place with no electricity. And at the same time as that the EMF detector was pinning red, which I believe is 20 plus milligauss for the K2 meter that I was using at the time, I get this really strong, overwhelming electricity. It was such a strong form of energy. It almost felt like I was, I wouldn't say maybe electrocuted is a strong word, but it felt like goosebumps on steroids. My whole body was just tingling. And what was great about the EMF detector is it was validating the energy that I was feeling. And I guess it's kind of hard to explain not having been there, but I think that's probably the most intense experience I had that evening. It's unfortunate. Actually, I was going to say it's unfortunate. It was a personal experience, and I can't really prove it per se, but the EMF, I was filming it, and the EMF detector did pick up what I felt. So that was pretty intense.
It's always great when you have that, you know, when the physical body has that kind of an experience, and then you have the equipment backing it up. That's always a great validation. It just makes you feel like, oh yes, this is why I'm in it. Why I'm in it, for the, you know, for this validation, to get this validation that marries exactly to what I'm experiencing. It's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's this weird thing that goes on for me, I can only speak for myself, but as a paranormal investigator, when you go into an investigation, that's what we all want. We all want to see the full body apparition. We all want to hear things and see things, but at the same time, in the heat of the moment when it's happening, you almost don't want it to be happening because you're scared.
Right.
You're like, no, stop. I don't want, you have to sort of fight that instinct to want to run out of the building. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, oh, this is why we're here. Don't run away.
Right.
So
we wanted the answer. We asked for it. Be careful what you wish for.
Very true. Very true. So, Jeff, I think when you thought you were going to come on, you probably thought, okay, I'm going to do a podcast. That's okay. But now you came on and you made some friends. and it's it's going good. Thank you so much for reaching out and says, hey, yeah, I like to be on my podcast because I really appreciate that.
No, I appreciate you guys. I mean, the hour just flew by, like it really did. I had a great time. You guys are awesome.
Well, we definitely have to have you on again.
Yeah.
Don't know when, but we will. Anytime you want to come on, just say, hey, Chrissy, I want to come on. We let you come on by yourself or with somebody else or whatever.
Oh,
We
wait,
do a lot of paranormal, a lot. We don't have to end now. We can still, we can go 15, 30 more minutes if you like. But I just want to say that thank you so much. I mean, really cool. When you don't know somebody for the first time and you try to research them, and you don't know for sure, and you kind of like, okay, should we have this person or what? But I got a good vibe from you, but your name and just everything. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, we give him a chance. So I'm glad we did because it's been really awesome. Now you're in Central Massachusetts, so how far are you from Salem, Massachusetts?
I think it's about an hour, depending on traffic. I would say anywhere between an hour and 15, hour and a half. It's east of me because I live in Central Mass. So yeah, it'd be about an hour and a half east of me. Yeah. Yeah, we can keep talking. I just noticed the little chat room on the side here. I didn't realize what you guys were typing, but
Oh no, that's okay. That's okay. We don't have no script. We just go off whatever comes up in our mind. So, it's cool. Don't worry about it. But I've been to Salem so many times. It's like a second home. In fact, we're going there this fall, and we kind of got a busy schedule. But if you ever, I'll tell you the dates later, and if you ever want to just stop in and visit with us in Salem.
oh, absolutely, yeah. Like, so are you doing an investigation, or what are you doing? Like,
No,
which stuff?
just a trip. Just a trip.
Oh, just hanging
We
out.
we go a lot to see. We got a lot of friends out there, and we go out there quite often. September and October is really bad, actually, because haunted happenings. Everything
Oh
gets
yeah, it's crazy.
busy. A lot of people are just they're doing tarot readings, so they're really busy making an appointment. Tattoos, everything, because everybody, they get. I think a couple of years ago they got like 300,000
Wow.
people on.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, in October. So yeah, it gets extremely busy, but sometimes you have to take a trip when everybody else can too. So, but it'd be around the beginning of September, so it's going to be okay and everything. It won't be too busy, but I don't think I can be able to actually visit the ones I want to visit because they're riches and they're busy. Own shops and everything. But we're still going to have fun because Meeting Red hasn't been there. Two of my students hasn't been there. So first time people who hasn't been there, it's really exciting to see them light up and like, oh my God, it's a different vibe, you know.
Yeah,
And
early September shouldn't be that bad at all. Like,
Yeah.
as any Massachusetts local will tell you, steer clear of Salem on Halloween because
Yeah.
unless you like big
I bet.
crowds, but early September should not be that bad.
That's nice.
It probably won't be too bad. No, mostly just people getting prepared for making more spell kits, more book shadows, and stuff like that. It's just preparing for the month of September for the month of October. So yeah, but I've been there in May, and I think May is probably one of the best. May and August
Yeah,
is
off season. That's the
best.
time to go.
Right.
Yes, it is time to go. January is not bad. Just snow. That's
Yeah, if you don't mind the cold. Coming from Arizona, I don't know if I'd want to come to Massachusetts in January, but
I would, because let me tell you, we've had a terrible winter. It's been like 80s. I mean, we literally, spring was March and we were hitting 100 degrees. So it's going to be a very brutal summertime this year. The handwriting's on the wall.
100's too much because it's almost like what's worse, 20 degrees or 100 degrees? I don't know. I guess it depends what mood you're in. I mean, it could go either way.
100 degrees.
Either way, in Iowa, where Chrissy and Amy are from, basically in a nutshell, in the wintertime, they stay indoors. We can go outdoors, but then the flip side of it is when they're outside in the summertime, we're locked inside with air conditioning. Unfortunately,
we went the last time I was in Massachusetts. It was 2024, and we went to Fall River to see the Lizzie Borden House. And I noticed from your bio that you've been there. So, in your honest opinion, what did you think about it?
That's actually on my YouTube channel, Ghost Quest Solo, Lizzie Borden. I spent the night there. Shameless plug. Let me think. I think, as far as like who did the murder, or is it haunted, or what do you think? Like what?
Haunted. Yeah, actually, yeah, she's right. All the above.
I personally I don't believe that the parents were murdered by an axe. I believe it was a butcher knife. I can't remember the gentleman's name because there are so many suspects on the suspect list, but it's funny because I considered myself a Lizzie Borden buff until I went there, and you listen to the people that work at the Lizzie Borden house tell you all the stories and the suspects. It's like, I knew nothing. I don't know anything about the Lizzie Borden. But there was a gentleman, one of the guys was like a butcher, I guess, and he would have had been readily available.
Yeah. I think he's the one that worked in the work shed a lot. He was like I don't know, woodsmith or something, a butler or something. I don't know.
Whoever that guy is, but like even before I heard that theory, I remember looking at the pictures thinking to myself, if these people were really brutally murdered by an axe or a hatchet, there would literally be nothing left.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, the photos are gruesome. It's really bad, but it's not like bludgeoned with a hatchet bad. And it sort of makes sense that like a really heavy butcher knife could do some serious damage to the human body. And that's what I think. That's my theory.
That's how I think too. I mean, I saw the pictures, of course, because they have them out on the dining room table and stuff. And, we went, took turns upstairs and downstairs, a group and everything. I had a lot of, because I mean, yes, there's something there. I'm not going to, say no, there isn't. There's something there. I don't think it's the spirits who really wants to be there. I think they're like they're trapped and they just want out because they're tired. They're tired of
rehashing
going up and, so, oh, do you feel that? Do you feel that? And the thing is, it's so funny is everybody always thinks, like Medium Red says, everybody thinks they're a medium, know. Like, oh, did you feel that? Oh, somebody touched me. Right. Or, and it's just like, okay. I don't really say anything, but, the downstairs was kind of creepy. I had more activity. I had more activities on the downstairs than I did upstairs. In the basement, I mean. The upstairs was some activity too, but the main floor I didn't really feel that much.
I have mixed emotions about the Lizzie Borden house because I'm a bit of a hypocrite. Like, as a paranormal investigator, I spent the night investigating there trying to get evidence, but at the same time, I feel like my moral integrity as a human being and as an investigator, I try to treat spirits with the same respect as I would treat a human being. So like when I got to the house and I went and I realized they have like a bloodied dummy of the father on the couch, they have a bloody dummy of the mother on the floor, I thought that was a little bit crossing the line into being a little disrespectful to the dead. And they got autopsy photos everywhere, and I thought I didn't really feel completely comfortable with that. And I can't even imagine from the perspective of a spirit, if you were brutally murdered and now you have to relive your murder literally every day. Not even just every day, every time they do a tour. It's like, but again, I'm a bit hypocritical because I did go there, but I think they could handle it a little better, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh no, I really agree with you. I know when we was downstairs in the basement in the seance room that they call it, there was you know, a lot of people is like, oh, I feel this, I feel that, and just creeping themselves out. And I'm there, you know, I'm getting some, you know, signal and stuff, you know, but I didn't feel like I was in harm or anything like that. And then when everybody left the group to go to, or the group left to go to the other part of the basement, and my son is like, Mom, come on. I go, no, I'm gonna stay here in the seance room. And he's like, you get him, Mom. You know, he knows what I was gonna do, you know. And yeah, the voices, I had a lot of voices come over to, you know, the ghost box and everything that I had. And, you know, they're in pain. They want to just to be left alone. They're
Right.
tired. Um, you know, the original people are not really there. Was it Andrew and Emma? And I can't think of the mother or anything, like, you know, but you know,
Abby was the mom.
yeah, you know, they have most mostly move on, but it's the neighbors' kids because you know they talk about the neighbors' kids being, you know, going there in the basement and everything, and the mother was crazy and all that, and yeah, it was different. I probably would not go back. I don't think so, but that's just me. I don't know.
From what I understand, again, I'm not too keen on every detail, but apparently there was a tragedy before Andrew and Abby were murdered. There was another, was it a murder or some type of a death even before the Bordens were there? And that's
It
something
was,
Yes.
no, it was the neighbors, the neighbor kids.
different.
I'm bad with names, so but she had twins, and she was kind of crazy, or she went crazy, and she killed her children in their basement.
In the Bordens' basement.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, okay. I knew there was something else. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And yeah. So, you know, and I think that's what everybody feels.
You feel that in the basement.
Yeah.
They have done two different experiments. I'll have to figure out who it was, but they did two different experiments where they literally went in like the traditional paranormal investigation, where they try to provoke and they try to make the entities remember what had happened and talk about that. And then they also have done an experiment where they go in and none of that's ever brought up, where they literally go in and they talk about, what did you do for a living? And what did you eat? You know, things that were mundane, everyday things,
Right.
or just conversations with them, versus reliving the murder, you know, the murders over and over again. And they found that they get way more responses with the mundane activity of their everyday lives and conversations about what they did versus that the murders. It's really interesting. And because they don't want to be remembered by that, you know, that's it. They're, like you said, they're basically tired of being asked over and over again, are you here? Can you knock on the door?
I will say
my hand
with
nose.
The one thing I feel confident in saying is I believe that whoever murdered Abby Borden was familiar with that person, because once you go to that house and you realize where she was when she was murdered, if you walk into the room where she was murdered, I forgot what they call it now. They named the room after the uncle, I think, and I forgot his name. But anyway, the room she was murdered in, you open the door, there's a few feet of floor, there's a bed, and she was on the other side of the bed folding sheets apparently. But it's impossible to get into that room if Abby's standing here folding sheets and the door's right here. If somebody walks in the room, she's going to see that person. There's no way that she's not going to see them. And the only reason that you wouldn't turn around to confront the person if it was somebody that you were familiar with, whether it was a family member, a neighbor,
a friend,
because she got hit from behind with no defensive wounds, so she didn't fight it. She didn't even know it was coming. So
right.
I feel confident saying whoever murdered her knew her on an intimate level in some capacity, because that's just my theory anyway, for what it's worth.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to go one of these days.
Yeah, it was on my bucket list. I did a few investigations back to back, that what I called my bucket list tour, and one of them was Lizzie Borden, one of them was Villisca Ax Murder, and the other one was Penhurst. Those were three
Oh yeah, Penhurst, that's on my list too. Waverly Hills is on my list too. Chrissy, I
Waverly
think you're frozen.
I'm going back to Penhurst. I'm actually going to be, you guys were asking about upcoming investigations. I'm doing another tour for which I'm calling the back-to-back summer tour of terror. You know, you got to get
I love that. That's awesome.
but like the back-to-back sort of has a double entendre because it's back-to-back because it's literally Moundsville Friday, Penhurst Saturday, but it's also back-to-back because I'm going back to both places for the second time. I'm going to be driving to West Virginia in May. I'll be spending the night. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Moundsville Penitentiary, West Virginia State Penitentiary.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'll be spending the night alone there, and then I'll be driving from West Virginia to Spring City, Pennsylvania, which is where Penhurst is, on Saturday. And just by pure coincidence, apparently it's the Pennsylvania. I mean, I'm sorry, not the Pennsylvania. It's the Penhurst Paracon.
Oh,
which
that's going to be fun.
I wasn't really planning it, but the weekend I happened to book the Moundsville investigation was the same week that the Paracon's happening. So I'm like, of course I'm going to, hello.
Yeah, piggyback that at the same time. Exactly.
Plus, I don't have, I figure because, from Massachusetts to West Virginia, that's 11 hours. That's a long haul for one person. It's tough. I've done it before. So I figure at least on the way back, it's only going to be a 6-hour drive to Pennsylvania, spend the night at Penhurst, spend the weekend at Penhurst. And then the last leg from Pennsylvania to Mass is only another 6 hours, whatever it is. So it's, yeah, that just came to mind because you had mentioned previous future investigations. But
have you been to any of the Queen Mary or Whaley House, California, anything on the West Coast, or is it just primarily on the East Coast?
I would love to get to the West Coast someday, but as far as anything remotely close to that, I've investigated Texas, I've investigated Louisiana, and I think the furthest west has been Iowa, the Villisca Ax Murder House.
Got it.
But yeah, I mean, the problem is there's so many amazing places to investigate, and there's literally not enough time or money. If I hit Powerball tonight, then sign me up. But right. I have to be very selective with my investigations because, as we all know, as investigators, it's an expensive hobby. You get
yes, it is.
You got to rent the venue. Mm-hmm. I try to cut as many corners as I can. When I rent a car, I always get the economy. When I stay at a hotel, I'll just stay at the cheapest hotel in town. I'll usually go to Walmart and I'll stock up my hotel fridge with food from Walmart versus having to, if you have to eat out 3 times a day, that becomes an expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true.
I try to get really creative with saving money because I'm already spending an exorbitant amount of money just to get to the place.
Correct. So, yeah, it makes sense. Definitely.
When you say,
I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
What's the one? The Winchester Mystery House. That's the one that I really want to get to someday.
That is phenomenal. Very phenomenal. I've been there. Yes. And it is, I'm also an interior designer too. So the part of me that loves the architecture and the design aspects of it is incredible too, but it is definitively haunted. There is a gentleman that continues to heat the house in the coal room.
Oh, man.
And you literally can see a shadow figure and it hasn't been heated like that for years, but you still see him, dirty and shoveling coal into the heater. It's pretty amazing. So it's quite haunted for sure.
Nice. They say it's like a maze because there's so many rooms apparently.
Correct. But when you walk into the seance room, that's where you really can feel it, especially when you stand in it. For me, at least, when I stand in the center of that room, it's like continually swirling around me. The energy and anything that she may have brought in from her seances is still there. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think honestly there's ever going to be enough time in the day or time to get to all the places I want to get to. I mean, we could go, you want to talk about Europe, like Poveglia Island or Edinburgh Vaults. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I just did Dublin for 18 days last year with my husband, and it was 18 days. And I was the one thing, I mean, I wanted to go to as many haunted places as I possibly could, but the one on my bucket list was definitely the Hellfire Club. So we hiked up to the Hellfire Club, and it is everything that you can imagine entity wise in there. I mean, it's a good old boys club. There's definitely sacrifices that happen there, not only human, but versus and also animals. It's it's a neat little place.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, is there anything that you would like to end with, like your next investigation? Where you're going to be at?
Yeah, I'm gonna be at unfortunately I don't actually, oh wait a second. I got an is it the Emery House in Weymouth? I think I'm going back there this month, and then I'm going to be doing a Masonic Lodge also in Weymouth.
Oh wow, that'd be cool.
I'll be doing the Moundsville Penhurst tour in the middle of May. That's the big one I'm looking forward to. So yeah, those are some upcoming stuff. I was just at the Salem last night for like my 7th time. That place is, I just want to say, I'll say one more thing before we get off, that if you're ever in Massachusetts area, you have to investigate the USS Salem. It is the most consistently paranormally active spot I've ever been. It's gotten to the point where I was just telling the guy today that runs the thing, I said, I'll be perfectly honest with you, like by my 2nd time there, I was starting to look for the trickery. I was starting to think that, like, okay, what's the rub here? Like, do they got a button in his pocket that he pushes and sets all the devices off? Because, like, again, healthy skeptic, this is how we should all look at these things, right?
Absolutely.
I've been there enough, and I've gotten to know the people that run the USS Salem good enough to the point now where I feel like I believe their integrity, they have too much integrity and respect for the spirits and the ship to pull any shenanigans. In my opinion, it's 100% authentic. If you ever have a time, go to the USS Salem in Quincy, Massachusetts. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we went. Yeah, we've been there. We've been in quite a few places in Massachusetts. Like I said, we go there quite a lot. But I just want to say thank you again for coming on. You're an awesome guest, and we, of course, love to have you back again. We do paranormal panels sometimes. We have one coming up with about 5 UK teams that we're doing on May 20th. But yeah, if you want to come on, just let us know.
So what is the theme of the show as far as?
We do a little bit of everything. It started out as being like witchy, authors, musicians and stuff, having lessons, talk about, witchy stuff. And then we went to cryptids and then paranormal, UFOs, talk about cemeteries, talk about vampires, talk about different spiritual beliefs.
You had that Bigfoot. Say no more. Let's leave him wanting more. We'll end it on a positive note. You don't want to give him too much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys have been awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank you for joining us.
Yes. And to the audience, subscribe, like, and share. And we'll see you till next time. Tuesday, we will have a special guest. Check out our YouTube. We should know who it is.
Jeff, hang back for a couple seconds with this after she ends the podcast, okay?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thanks.